Eleanor, hey,
Hey,
congratulations.
thank you
Congratulations for
very
the
much.
film, Time Now. I think you are especially excited for this film, aren't you?
Of course. It's been almost what? Oh my gosh. Almost 3 years since we did it, and I got to be the lead, which was so exciting. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Well, you know what? I'll start off with the easy question. Why were you
Okay.
attracted to do a project like Time Now?
Okay, wow, great question. Initially, I was Spencer contacted me and expressed that he had written this script and that he thought that I could handle it, which was kind of the first thing that I was like, oh my gosh, someone thinks I can I can handle this. That's encouraging. And then when I read the script, I think what drew me to it was, well, first of all, when I spoke with Spencer, his passion and his dedication to this was so at the forefront of our conversation. And I think when you can sense that in somebody, you can sense how driven they are and how dedicated they've been to bringing this to life. That is obviously like, that's the kind of energy you want to be working with. And Spencer brought that from the very first conversation we had. So that's definitely what first drew me to it, was somebody who's that passionate about what they've been working on. He'd been working on it for a really long time too. So I know for him to get to a point where he felt ready to actually bring it to life, it was like a no-brainer. I was like, yeah, I would love to do this. So that was the first thing. And then, plot wise or script wise and character wise, I just thought Jenny's so interesting. Jenny is, she's so human in her strangeness. And I found that Jenny is kind of, I don't know if this is a term my acting teacher uses, out of adjustment. Jenny is a character who's kind of out of adjustment to her circumstances and her situations and the experiences she either finds herself in or puts herself in. And I found that to be really, really human, because so often we're like very out of adjustment, yeah. And I found her very human, and also kind of, yeah, odd. She's odd. I liked her.
Oh, that is terrific. So you knew Spencer before, that's why he approached you?
I knew Spencer because I had actually worked at his mother's production company as a production coordinator like a year before. So I had never actually met Spencer, but I had been employed by his mother. Yeah.
And all this led to Spencer remembering you just through his mother. Wow, that is
Very, very, I thought it was very sweet. Very sweet. Yeah. And I had just begun my acting. I was like, by the time we shot it, I was probably like 6 months into my training, which first year training is, barely training. It's just taking off the layers of conditioning. So I couldn't believe he'd asked me. I was like, okay, if you say so.
I think this is a good career trajectory for yourself because Time Now is your first lead role in a feature film. How was that experience like for you?
That was my first real role, period. And the fact that it got to be a lead role and on a set with such amazing people. I mean, truly every single person on that set was dedicated, driven, funny, kind, compassionate, totally invested. And also, when you're working on, a lower, I don't want to say like lower budget and sort of grassroots endeavor, you get to mingle in a way that you don't get to on a sort of larger set. So, we got to sort of all be in each other's business in a really good and productive way. We got to be really creative together and be like, ooh, what if we tried this? What if we did this? And that was so much fun. So that was like, I mean, it could not have been a better first experience really in front of the camera. So yeah, it was amazing.
What was your previous projects before? Was it just like short films or supporting roles?
Yeah, I had done a short film that also just came out. I did that in the summer of 2018. And I had done, I mean, really not like next to nothing. I did some voiceover work in a movie my mom did once, as like I left her like a voicemail, but like that was it. And then I was in a short film years ago. I think I was 9 with my stepsister, and that was really fun. Yeah.
So you are completely up to the challenge to be in this leading role. So what was it tough for you to practically, because I want to say you were in, I want to say almost all the scenes in this film.
Oh, here comes my cat. Sorry.
That's all right. My cat's somewhere around here too. So.
If I lock him out of the room, he screams at the door. So I figure it's just better to let him in. I hope it's not too distracting.
No, don't worry.
Put you down. Okay. So sorry. Obviously got distracted by the cat. Could you please? Yes, I was in almost every scene. Right.
I was going to say, was that a challenge for yourself? Because this is an entirely new experience for yourself. Because I understand if you have like big parts or supporting roles, but then all of a sudden if you have to be like in 70-80% of the scenes, I mean that's quite a jump.
It definitely was. It definitely was. And we had 3 weeks in Detroit to make this happen, and so there was a lot. Every day was full. I would say though that because it was such a, like, I wasn't the only one who, I mean, I was the one who was there kind of for the longest, but when somebody was there, they were on set basically all day, every day. So I was surrounded by amazing people like the whole time. So it wasn't too daunting. There was one day that was really difficult for me just because it was so cold. It was well, I won't spoil it, but it was the day where I had to wear a very thin dress in about 28 degrees Fahrenheit. And that was probably, I mean, just in terms of just logistics of the day, that was like, I didn't really know how I was going to make it through, but I did. So I'm still here. But yeah, it was a lot, but in the best possible way, because everybody is super invested and really, really cares and wants this to be as good as possible. And it really turned out fantastically. So yeah, I think I wouldn't trade it for anything. I wouldn't have minimized my days or hours for anything.
Yeah, after watching this film, I thought your role was fairly difficult because it seems very daunting and depressing to play Jenny. So how did you get in that headspace of Jenny?
That's a great question. Jenny, like I said, is, at least to me, the way I interpreted Jenny is she went through, hold on, I'm just going to close this door because I live in New York City and the sounds of the city never stop. So, thanks, sorry. So she goes through, the family goes through an initial trauma when she's about 17, and she runs, basically, she leaves. And she doesn't come back until another familial trauma occurs. And after, 6 or 7 years of kind of doing this over and over and focusing so much on her external life in terms of like having a husband and having a child and just sort of being like, that's over there, I'm not engaging with that. So to get into the headspace of that, you do have to craft everything that has happened, and then you have to craft your relationship to it. And as the actor, you have to know everything that's going on inside the character, but the character doesn't necessarily know what's going on inside of herself. So in that sense, it was a lot of crafting, and then sort of trying, letting that be there so that Eleanor, can emote appropriately, but also Jenny emotes inappropriately. So that was also something interesting to me, is she's kind of all over the place, and there are moments where she acts like a 17-year-old, because she's still kind of stunted in that way. So I think the relationship to Joan was really important. My aunt, the relationship, who was played by Claudia Black, who is my fairy godmother. I couldn't say nicer things about her. I love her. And then to my mother as well. And then obviously, I had to craft, for me, Eleanor, the actor, I had to craft some memories. I had to do some memories with my siblings when we were all together to sort of allow that the like trauma of it all to be there, of like the things that I'm trying to shove down. I had to know exactly what those things were. So that was sort of how I prepared, I guess.
So basically mentally you establish sort of like a sibling type of bond, just like the character actually did. Like what would I
Definitely.
do if I lost my siblings? Yes.
Yes, exactly. And then have to filter that through, you know, what the script says and the dialogue for Jenny. And a lot of times it's like, I love that about Jenny, because Jenny's confusing as hell. And I think so many people are that way, but you know, curb that and try very hard to like emote in the way that they like should. And I think that Jenny kind of lets herself be difficult or childish or very standoffish when people are trying to be close to her. And so yeah, I found her just very interesting. But yes, crafting the relationships with my siblings is really important, especially since like I went into hiding from them after the first tragedy. I was like, bye, I'm not engaging anymore. And I'm trying to get that out of my psyche, sort of, and just be like, I don't do that anymore. I live over here. And then, you know, having to go back, all of that resurfaces. So yeah.
Was it easy to turn that on and off your Jenny persona at the end of the day?
I don't know if easy is the right word, because it was, I would say maybe simple, just in that, you know, I did get to, there weren't many steps involved in entering or exiting the role of Jenny, but it definitely wasn't easy because, you know, especially at that point, I didn't have very much training. So it was sort of like throw it at the wall and see what sticks. And you're doing that while in production. Like, so it was a little, you know, you're like, I hope that works. I hope this works. And yeah, you just sort of hope it all goes well.
I know. Time Now was a very challenging film for yourself, and I also find that in your first lead role, you also acted with the child Asher, who plays Andrew in
Yes.
the film. And usually they say, you know, never act with animals and children, and you got to do that in a film like this. Talk about acting with Asher.
I mean, first of all, he's one of the cutest kids I've ever laid my eyes on, so that really helps. And he was just a sweetie, you know. I mean, I think he was 4, had just turned 4 at the time, and that's the age where you want to play and you want to goof off. But he was really, he followed direction very well, I thought, for a 4-year-old. And him and Claudia worked together, I think, a bit more than him and I. And that's the other thing is, you know, Jenny has next to no intimacy with her child, which is very, you know, bizarre. He's almost this like placeholder for her, of just like, this is where I put my energy now. But she doesn't really engage. But Joan's character, Claudia's character, Joan, got to engage with Asher and Andrew. And that was really sweet to watch, because, you know, she's so loving and so caring, and he responded to her so much. So, and they got to actually play together on screen, you know, whereas with me, it was like, come on, let's go. Or like, what are you doing? Or, you know, so I think, yeah, I don't know. I hope that answers your question.
Well, no, I think that's what makes Jenny an interesting character, because she's struggling throughout the entire movie, and that's why it's such an important role for you to play, which is terrific.
Thank you.
I know it's always a crapshoot, but we always ask the question, because you are a daughter of famous parents yourself, who
Yes.
are into acting.
Yes.
Do you call them for advice, or you don't, and you basically say, you know what, I'm going to do my own thing, I don't need your advice, or do you actually do call them?
That's a great question. I've definitely leaned on my mom for advice. When I was doing this film, I think I would call her more with the sort of like existential, like, is this what I want to do with my life kind of stuff. And then once I was like, I made the decision that yes, this is at the very least something that is very important to me. Of course, I have other interests and other passions, but I will say since having done this, I have worked a bit more, just a little, but because I just really started to take it seriously. But so I have called her to just sort of be like, what do you do when you need to do blank? Or what do you do when somebody, says this? Or, I mean, I know I'm being so vague because I can't think of a specific moment, but I know that I have called her and she will attest to that. But on the other side of it, I did a 2-year acting program at the Esper Studio in New York. It's so funny. Obviously everyone was in the middle of something in March of 2020. I was 6 weeks out from graduating from my program. So I'm actually back in my program now. I'm at the tail end of the 6 weeks that we had to finish. But this is just to say, I did have some training. I do have some training now that I can actually, I've got tools in the tool chest that when things feel a bit daunting, I can go, okay, and look at my toolbox, and it helps to sort of ground you, because I have had moments prior to my training. I remember I had to do this audition once and it went real bad. Let's just say that. And I had a bit of a tantrum just because I had no tools. I didn't have anything to fall back on when the emotionality is very intense and you need to get there. If you don't know how to get there necessarily, especially with an audition, if you have like a role that is like fleshed out and a whole script, but if you're given 3 pages and it's a scene between someone and anyway. So at that moment, I was like, help me, Mom. And she was filming it with me and it was so dramatic. Oh, it was so, I think I was 17 or 18. So it was like prime moment for me to be like, freaking out, all the hormones, all the stuff. So, but she helped me through that. That's probably the most I've ever leaned on my mom was during that wild audition. Yeah. Needless to say, I didn't get the role. I don't think I even sent in the audition. I was like, forget it. Let's just forget the whole thing ever happened.
So with your career just starting in acting, do you already have in your head like what kind of like actor you're going to be, or like what kind of genres you're seeking for?
No, I'm very much open, because I think, I don't know, I mean, drama, everybody's like, drama's so hard. I went into it being like, comedy is easy and drama is going to be hard. And how am I going to get myself to cry? It's like, no, crying is crying is crying. Sad is sad is sad. Of course, there's nuance to whatever the scene is or the situation is, but comedy is hard. I'm a goofball and like, I like to be silly a lot, but you never know if it's going to land, right? Everyone's got their own sense of humor. So, but I'm very open to doing anything. I just want to work. I think that acting is such an amazing, it's like psychology, which is one of my most, I would say my number one interest, is why people do the things that they do, and why 2 people who are born in the same family and raised by the same people have 2 different experiences of the exact same situation, and just the nuance of like human existence. And I'm drawn to the sort of more neuroscience side of it in terms of just like personal interest. But acting is the outside in version of that, right? Like, instead of understanding the inner workings so that you can understand the manifestation, you look at the manifestation and you get to understand the inner workings. So in that sense, I'm like, throw anything at me, because I would just love to try and, embody and understand and what's that word? Express. Thank you. Express. Hello. Express, any component of being alive, living. Yeah.
That is terrific. So let me start to wrap things up for you. What's your next step now? Are you just doing auditions? Or you already have projects, or are you just gonna continue your studies?
Well, I will be done with my studies in about 2 weeks, which is wild. I'm very sad about that, actually. I'm auditioning. Yes, I just had a very small role in an episode on an Amazon TV show, which will air, I don't know when, but it will air. This much we know. And a friend of mine is a writer-director who's putting on a play right now in the New York Theater Festival that I am in, which will be next week, which I'm very excited about. And then I think the only other project that's on the horizon that I can rely on at the moment, like in terms of, you know, you never know until they're like, you're leaving tomorrow to go do the job. And you're like, great. Is another friend of mine has written a full-length, his first full-length feature, and it's greenlit and funded, which is amazing. I'm very proud of him. And he wrote a role in there with me in mind, pinching myself. So that will be cool. That will be in the spring in New York. So, but other than that, auditions. And I'm looking for some, I have a great manager, but you know, maybe trying to get some representation, get an agent. Who knows? We'll see. Yeah.
Well, everything is just starting to roll for you. I'm gonna end this conversation with one silly question.
Yes, please.
You had a sandwich at the end of the movie. What was it, and did you actually eat it?
Oh, it was a cinnamon roll.
Oh, it's a cinnamon roll. That's right. It was a cinnamon roll.
And oh my God. Okay, it was.
I thought it was a sandwich.
Well, I mean, please, I know. Well, sandwiches, yeah. Anyway, it was cinnamon roll, and hell yeah, I ate that. I love. It was so funny. He wrote that into the script. I was like, do you know how obsessed I am with cinnamon rolls and like just that? The icing. It's really the icing. Any kind of icing like that, I'll drink it. It's a problem. But yeah, hell yeah, I ate it. Oh my God. And it was fun because we did 2 takes, so I got to do it twice. I got to eat it twice. Okay.
I know. I was like going, because sometimes I have to ask, because some people, like, they don't like the food, or they just pretend or something like that.
They have to eat something they don't like. No, I got very lucky. I mean, cinnamon roll. Who doesn't like a cinnamon roll?
Well, absolutely. Well, hey, Eleanor, hey, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. This was such a fun interview. I had a great time with you. Thank you for such thoughtful questions.
Well, you know what? I can't wait to do this again with you after your next project. So, hey, keep us in mind.
Of course. Thank you so much. Be safe, be well. And yeah, to the next one.
Excellent. Next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.